The Fighting Illini against the Michigan State Spartans, a battle of potentially two of the best teams in the Big Ten Conference on Sunday. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to a weekend edition of Locked On Illini. Yes, I will work on weekends. I think I've gone 21 straight days of producing Illini content, so I'm not going to stop the momentum now. If you'd like to support the program, please, if you don't mind, just hit a like and hit that subscribe button. Make sure you're subscribed and find us on all your favorite audio platforms. This episode today is going to be brought to you by FanDuel. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets. If you win your first bet, visit FanDuel.com to get started. Live episode. So again, if you are in the chats, feel free to drop a comment and I'll read it at the end of the show. I hope you all enjoyed the crossover that I had with Locked On Spartans on Friday. I really enjoyed my time with Matt Sheehan. I think he's great. He's one of the more entertaining hosts on this network. And I believe this is the second or third time I've had a crossover episode with him. And, we went over the Illini. We got to learn a little bit about the Spartans. And the Spartans are a very interesting team. And this matchup on Sunday is going to be one of the most intriguing matchups of the season for me. My everydayers in here know that I constantly say, and I truly do believe, that Illinois has the highest ceiling in the Big Ten Conference. I think there's only one team capable of winning the national championship in the Big Ten, and that is Illinois. And that's why, day in and day out, there's not a single team in the country that I don't think Illinois can beat. But on that same wavelength, Illinois can lose to anybody, as we saw to losing to USC a week ago today. Now, granted, that USC loss doesn't look nearly as bad as it looked when it happened a week ago. I believe now it's graduated to a quad 2 loss. But regardless, Illinois is one of those Jekyll and Hyde teams just because of the lack of experience. It's a very young team, and they just haven't. This is their first year together, right? This is we replaced 10 guys. And of course, sometimes there's just chemistry issues. And having said that, Michigan State's the opposite. When I say that Illinois has the highest ceiling in the Big Ten Conference, I think Michigan State has the highest floor. Michigan State, game in and game out, is going to be giving you a B+ effort, maybe even an A effort. Now, when I think about the 10 guys that are going to be on the floor on Sunday, 2, maybe even 3 of the best ones are going to be in orange and blue. But when you talk about 3 to 9, that's where Michigan State sometimes might have the edge. That's at least how they've overpowered other opponents. Sure, it's not just one superstar or 2 superstars, but just collectively, this team works hard. This is kind of a typical old school Michigan State team, except for usually the old school Michigan State teams have, at least one star that you kind of think of whenever you think of the Spartans. Not so much this year. This is kind of a collective effort. Now, I believe they're ranked 12th. They're 7-0 in the conference. They're undefeated. They haven't lost. Now, granted, if you watched the preview episode with Locked On Spartans on Friday, I went through their Big Ten schedule, and it's not exactly a very intimidating schedule, and it really doesn't teach you much. This is clearly Michigan State's toughest test when Illinois comes to the Breslin Center on Sunday. But they take care of business, right? Illinois should have beaten Northwestern. They should have beaten USC. They didn't. Michigan State, all you can do sometimes is beat the teams in front of you. And they have been. This is going to be a really interesting game on Sunday. For me, the key is the rebounding battle. Michigan State's one of the teams that truly wants to rebound as much, if not more, than Illinois does. Brad Underwood talks about it. He writes down 100 times rebound, rebound, rebound in that locker room, both during practice and pregame. They just constantly, as a staff, preach how important getting defensive rebounds is and getting offensive rebounds is. Now, granted, look, we shoot a lot of 3-pointers. Illinois does, but we're just an average 3-point shooting team. And yet it's quantity, because once we shoot those 3-pointers, well, we have the guys in the middle who can give us second chances or sometimes give us third chances. In particular, you saw in that Indiana game, sometimes we had 4 chances. Michigan State's not going to sit back and let you do that. Michigan State's going to be crashing those boards just as hard as Illinois is. So for me, I truly believe that if you didn't want to show me the final score on Sunday and you asked me to just look at one stat and tell you who the winner was, the rebounding battle, that's what I'm going to be paying attention to. The other thing is Michigan State will rough you up. When you think of Big Ten, you think physicality. I mean, ask Mick Cronin. Mick Cronin just talked about that in an interview a couple days ago. Michigan State's going to talk to you. They're going to try to get in your head, and they're going to try to push you around. They're going to try to really physically intimidate you, which, in one hand, Illinois should have an advantage. We're bigger than them in almost every position. And that's why I do think one of the keys to this game is Tomislav Ivisic. At 7'1", 260 pounds. I need Tommy to really assert himself in the middle. I need him to, if he's hitting wide open threes and creating space on the floor, and then every time a shot goes up, he can use that 7'1", 260 frame to grab those rebounds. He needs to 100% finish double digits when it comes to rebounding on Sunday. That's going to be, in my opinion, one of the most important stats that I'm going to look at. Now, I've had a love and hate relationship with Tommy, right? I would never even say hate. It's one of those where I was very high on him. I really liked the way he shot the ball without thinking about it early in the season. But I also think of all the Illini, content creators, writers out there. I was one of the first ones who kept pointing out, hey, is it me or does he not really play like his size is? I hate to use the word soft, but I mean, that's kind of what you can tell, he doesn't really want to muscle around and bang around down by the hoop. Well, we saw a different side of Tomislav against Indiana. I told you I had my eyes on Tommy just for games like Indiana because the Big Ten has a lot of big men. It's a very tall conference and teams with a lot of big men. And so Umar Balu, I thought, would be Tomislav's biggest challenge of the season so far. Tommy passed with flying colors. And we're going to need him to do that again on Sunday. We saw Tommy bark and, show some aggression and open his mouth against Luke Goody and those Indiana Hoosiers on, Wednesday night? We're going to need that Tomislav really throughout the rest of the season. I hope that was a spark plug. Because if he plays well, maybe I'm taking Kasparis for granted at this point, but there's no one on Michigan State that can guard Kasparis Jakushonis. I'm very comfortable with saying that. The baseline for Kasparis game on Sunday will be 18-5-5. But we're going to need a collective effort because there's a very good chance that Michigan State knows that. They don't have anybody that can guard a 6'6" point guard. But they do have, again, they play collectively as a team. Michigan State's one of those teams where the sum of the parts is better than the individual pieces. And I can see a game plan where Michigan State essentially guards Kasparis and says, hey, Ben, you're not going to shoot those threes. We're not going to let you beat us. Trey White, now we're going to make your life harder on Sunday. Because they can kind of match up with those guys. Not height-wise, but just collectively as a team. Tomislav is the one guy I don't think that they can match up with. I think it's going to be a fantastic battle. I believe Michigan State's a 2-point favorite. I still like the Illini. I'm going to be honest with you. Basically, because of what I said, I think when Kasparis plays, I know the game's at the Breslin Center, and trust me, if there's any Michigan State fans watching this or watching this later, I'm not disrespecting the Breslin Center. I'm not disrespecting Tom Izzo. But Illinois plays just fine on the road. We've had a 30-point victory at Oregon already. This team, the road atmosphere doesn't bother them too much. And so I just truly think that in a battle of two teams who are going to try to out-rebound each other and out-hustle each other, I think Illinois can come out victorious. Thing is, Illinois is going to have to bring in their A game, maybe even A-plus game, because I know, without a doubt, Michigan State tomorrow is going to bring, at minimum, their B game. Probably B-plus game. I know that's going to happen because their floor is so high. I've watched almost a half dozen Michigan State games this year, and that's what they do. I don't remember off the top of my head watching Michigan State game like, oh, that was just a bad night for them. No, they play a certain style, game in and game out. Illinois doesn't. You're going to get good Illinois a lot of the times, but then you're going to get, what are you doing, Illinois? The other times. We followed up that 30-point Oregon victory with barely escaping Washington. We followed up beating down on Penn State by losing to USC. We can't keep doing that. Illinois just beat down on Indiana. And this makes it the next game that we're playing. And if we have a performance like we have in the second end to back-to-backs of the games I just listed, Illinois is going to lose. But I do think that Brad understands how important of a game this is. Maybe they overlooked USC. Maybe they got a little overconfident, not realizing that, hey, Kasparis really does make that offense work. And, Penn State may have just been a very good shooting day, but I don't think they're going to overlook Michigan State. And I really do think that all week long, the message is going to be, you need to play your A game to beat Michigan State. Otherwise, you're simply just not going to win. This message is brought to you by PrizePicks, the place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions in winnings, PrizePicks has changed the game in daily fantasy sports. Whether it's the playoffs or regular season, PrizePicks has made it easier than ever to win big while enjoying all the football action. Now it's playoff time. There's no better way to get in on the action than PrizePicks. Here's how it works. You simply pick more or less on at least two players. And if your pick hits, you could win up to 1,000 times your cash. That's right, 1,000 times your money just by making a few simple picks. Ready to run your game this football season? Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 just for playing. Don't wait. Take your game to the next level with PrizePicks. PrizePicks. Run your game. So many of you know JR, who joins Locked On Illini every Monday. We do a Big Ten Power Rankings. It's to basically give you, the Illini fan who doesn't have time to pay attention to the rest of the Big Ten, kind of a overview of who's playing well and who's not playing well. And JR is the host of the Big Ten Huddle show, which they do a Friday basketball show, every Friday morning. And more often than not, I'm going to be, he's invited me on as a guest. So definitely, if you're not subscribed to the Big Ten Huddle, make sure you do. And you'll be seeing me there on, I think it's Friday mornings at 11 Central. So if you have availability, definitely tune in and you'll see me more often than not. But I tuned in last Friday and this past Friday, and they were talking about the Indiana debacle, where Illinois obviously defeated Indiana very soundly. And the major narrative that came from that game was not how well Illinois played, but how poorly Indiana played. And the talk was about Mike Woodson, right? A lot of people say, hey, this may have been the final nail in the coffin for Mike Woodson. And it's time to, I see other coaching prospects, come up with who should take the Indiana, who's the job. And JR had said something that kind of stuck out to me in that, again, the conversation was also about Umar Ballo, who clearly, and the Indiana team for the most part, outside Luke Goody, didn't give forth much effort that game. And JR had made mention that they spent so much money on Umar Ballo that it's not Mike Woodson's fault necessarily. Like, he spotted the talent, they paid the money. How is he supposed to know that Umar would play lackadaisical, that he wouldn't be putting forth his major effort every single game. And that, in some ways, it wasn't Mike Woodson's fault. And for me, I simply said that I didn't agree with that at all. I said it in the comments section, but I kind of wanted to address that here because on the same day, Friday, Brad Underwood went on the Dan Dakich show, and he said something that surprised almost a lot of us Illini fans. He didn't want to take what ended up being one of the most beloved Illini players in recent memory, Marcus Domask. Brad Underwood had this to say: I didn't want to take him. I watched film on him, and I kept telling my staff, he's a 6'5" power forward who can't shoot. You guys got to convince me why we should take this kid. He was an average shooter, but he was a power forward in the Valley. We do a personality test, and all of a sudden characteristics came back. Ultra competitor, win at all costs, great teammate. We find all these things out and said, get him here now. There's more to a basketball player than what you just see on the court. And you know who knows that better than anybody? Brad Underwood. It was just, 3 years ago when we had that Jaden Epps team, that Matthew Meyer team, where you can see like the talent didn't necessarily match the production on the court. I think Brad realized then and there that it's not about just recruiting the highest rated guy and bringing him onto campus. That no, more so you need to find the right players, and personality matters and culture matters. It's something which Mike Woodson apparently didn't realize. And it's a mistake that ultimately might cost him his job. Credit to Brad. He learned this. And you know what? Credit to whoever it was on the staff. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe it's out there. Which individual assistant coach it was, maybe it was two of them, that kept saying, hey, no, let's bring in Marcus Domask. This kid has something that Brad's not saying. I love Brad Underwood because despite his flaws, I think he genuinely does listen to his assistant coaches, and credit to him for doing it in this particular case. He didn't necessarily like Marcus's makeup and how he thought he would fit in the Big Ten Conference, but he listened to his assistant coaches. And those assistant coaches, if they believed in something, they would tell Brad. And you know what? The play was there, but secondly, it's the intangibles. It's the ultra competitor, win at all costs, great teammate. When you have a guy like that, even if he didn't turn out to be Marcus Domask, the Marcus Domask that we saw, who averaged, I think, 19 points per game last year, even if he just ended up being a role player, a guy who gave you maybe 9, 10 points per game off the bench, ultra competitor, win at all costs, great teammates. That's the kind of culture that you want to build at Illinois. That's the kind of culture that helps you win Big Ten championships, Big Ten tournament titles, and make Elite Eight runs. Credit to Brad, credit to Brad's assistant coaches, and quite honestly, Mike Woodson, you need to figure it out. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets. Guaranteed, that's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same-game parlays, and so much more. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Appreciate you all joining me on this Saturday morning-ish, almost lunchish time. We got about 32 people watching and 8 likes. So if we can get those like totals up, I'd appreciate it. I wanted to reference David's comments. Sunny, thanks for consistent shows. It'll be a fun game tomorrow. Izzo oftentimes has great rebounding teams. If Illini can win the boards by 5 or more, it will be a good day. The one edge that Illinois has over Michigan State is, both teams want to rebound, but we're clearly a bigger basketball team. I think Michigan State starts 3 guys under 6'3". The length is definitely the advantage on our side. So, what does that tell you? If Michigan State does ultimately end up with more rebounds than Illinois, it's because they wanted it more. And quite honestly, I think they're 7-0 so far this year. They're a top 15 team in the country because for the most part, every single game, they just wanted more. They're not usually, well, I guess in the Big Ten schedule, they've had a pretty patsy schedule. They are usually the more talented team. But look, there's 4 teams, in my opinion, that can win the Big Ten Conference this year. Illinois, Michigan, Purdue, and Michigan State. A Michigan State fan might clip this down the road, but out of those 4, I think Michigan State's the least. I'd put them 4th in the power ranking of those 4, just because I don't know who the star player is on that team. There's no Braden Smith. There's no Danny Wolf, Golden, Kasperchuk, Ushonis. But they're just a really good team, and they work their butts off, and they're going to be at home, and they're going to have the energy of the crowd there. It's going to be an amazing game. Now, I know usually I go live immediately after every game, and I plan on it on Sunday as well. So make sure, again, you've hit that subscribe button and like button and hit the notification bell wherever that might be on this video. But I'm going to be honest with you. Sunday morning, I'm running my first ever half marathon as well in my life. I have never run anything beyond a 10K officially. So I don't know what shape I'm going to be in by the time the game starts, but my plan is fully to go live immediately after the game. But there's a chance that the post game might be maybe a little bit later, sometime Sunday. But I promise you there will be a show, because I promised you that there's going to be a show. I've got a string of, I think, 21 straight days, something along those lines. And I'm going to keep going as long as I can. Why? Because you guys continue to make this show one of the fastest growing on the entire Locked On network. We're so close to 2,000 subs. I really do think that potentially we can do it by the end of the month, only with your help. Make sure you send this to other Illini fans, friends, family, maybe your old roommates, whoever you think might be interested in Illini content. Remember, I do the show for absolutely free. So the only thing I ask in return is that like and subscribe button. I'm really looking forward to the game on Sunday. If you haven't joined our Discord yet, please do. We are talking Illini sports all day, every day. All day, every day. And during the game, real time, that Discord, it's just constantly just us venting and being happy and talking about giving each other play-by-play. So if you haven't already joined the Discord, please do. Otherwise, I will see you Sunday, hopefully after the game. But at some point Sunday, absolutely. Until next time, ILL. Love you guys.